As part of the Insight Maker overview module, I'd like to spend a few minutes and talk about the various options available for sharing your insights with other people. Now, the easiest way to share your insight is to simply send the URL for that insight to someone else, as long as the insight is public. If it's not public, you can go to instant access, and you can explicitly provide access to one or more individuals, either view or edit access to the module, or you can put the module into a group that individuals belong to that you want to be able to see the model. So there are three ways to make it visible to other people. Though more often than not, I receive models or insights from other people that look like cryptic wiring diagrams that I figure it will take hours to figure out just what it is that they're trying to tell me, and as a consequence, I just delete them. A well-defined insight tells a story. Think about a play as it's presented one act after another, and the interactions between the players, how the relationships unfold from the beginning to the end of the play, and it tells a story. So a well-defined insight tells a story. So Insight Maker provides an option for one to define a story and unfold your insight to someone else as a story. So for this particular insight, if I view it as a story, it unfolds piece by piece, and it describes what's being unfolded on the bottom of the screen. The way that this is done is simply by using a set of storytelling options to define the different steps of the story to change visibility and run action to explain how this unfolds. Now, this is specifically unfolding a qualitative causal loop diagram. Storytelling can also be used to present simulation models and present and describe scenarios, how the different variables are being set to cause the simulation to run differently. So that if we look at the story options for this, it defines a number of values within the run action option. In storytelling, you have access to all the options in the Insight Maker API and JavaScript to go ahead and control the state of the insight itself before you go ahead and run it and show the message. So this just walks through a series of step by step as the person clicks and walks through the model. So that's one way to, well, that's, yes. So the storytelling option is one way to present an insight. Also, if one creates a story, you can use the published article feature to have Insight Maker turn that story into a presentation that's just text and images, which is presented to look like this, so that this is the boy who cried wolf, and it presents the same way it would if someone interacted with Insight Maker step by step, though because it's simply presented as images and text, one doesn't have to interact with Insight Maker. It's much quicker. Depends upon what kind of an interaction that you want to create for the user. Now there's a whole module in Systems KeLE on storytelling with Insight Maker, which is rather involved, though it walks through all of the various features of the storytelling option in terms of how to use all of the different functions. Additionally, you can embed a web page in some other web vehicle, a web page or a blog or something, so that clicking here, this gives you the iframe embed code to actually embed this insight in some other environment, and you can then change the width and the height based upon the size of whatever it is that you're presenting. And the top bar, sidebar, and zoom indicate whether or not the sidebars are visible or not visible, and whether it expands the insight to fill the space available. This is an Insight Maker demo embedded in my wiki website, and if you view the story, it unfolds it, runs the simulations just as it would if you accessed the Insight directly in Insight Maker. Okay. Additionally, you can download the Insight Maker file itself. As I've said before, Insight Maker is written in JavaScript, runs in your browser, and the set of code, the set of instructions that define what the insight is, can be exported as a text file, which, if you look at it, is sort of beyond ugly, but I don't have to read it. Insight Maker reads it. You could send this text file to someone else, and they could then load it into Insight Maker using the import Insight Maker file. You can also do an XML import, which is a developing standard for sharing simulation models across multiple environments. The other export option is you can export, let me go to this one, you can export a complete equation list, which is the equations and the comments, in case you want to include this in some other documentation. You can select all of this, copy it, and paste it to somewhere else. And then you can also export this as a SVG, scalable vector graphics diagram, which you can use somewhere else. But the fact that it's an SVG makes it real nice because it scales without losing the resolution. What else have we got here? We have the other import option is Insight Maker file. No, Insight Maker URL. I mentioned before someplace that you can copy and paste within an Insight, but you can't copy from Insight to Insight. And oftentimes I have pieces of things in other Insights I've developed that I want to use in the current Insight that I'm creating. So the way that this works is that if I go here, close this, and copy this URL, and I only need the URL up to the Insight ID number, and go here and click on Import Insight Maker URL, I can go ahead and paste that URL in and tell it OK. What it does is it inserts that model into this Insight, puts it in a folder. Notice that I selected this and it says that it's a folder. If I open this, well, if I click this, notice the text here is the text that was the description here. And if I open the folder itself, it contains the entire model that was in the other Insight. So I could go ahead and bring this over, delete the pieces that I don't want. It doesn't bring the storytelling. It would bring all of the formulas associated with the different primitives if it were a simulation model. But this is a way to go ahead and use pieces from other Insights in an Insight that you're developing that makes it very easy. It's almost the equivalent of copy and paste. You could take another Insight, clone it, delete the parts that you didn't want, and then what was left you could import into the Insight that you're working on. So it's a very useful feature. I use it quite often. So those are the the options available for sharing the things you develop with other people. And as I said, this is an element of the Insight Maker overview module, and there's a link to this in the notes section for the video. So I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.